we just want to do a quick 15 minutes.
Yeah,
because
we talk about
some of these films are our favorite from the festival, right? So okay, let's very quickly A Normal Family, which is a South Korean thriller. Would you call it a thriller?
Yeah, I guess so.
Family thriller.
Yeah, I think you could consider it a thriller. Yeah,
by Jin-Ho. Yeah,
I think that is adapted from a play. Actually, I can't remember what the play is, but it's been remade into a film. There is an American version called The Dinner, starring Richard Gere and Steve Coogan. But so it's adapted into this more Korean setting, and it's actually a very good film, I would say.
Yeah, I like it a lot also. Very enjoyable lah.
It has all the elements precisely what we should be learning from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about it and all that, right? Yeah, it's Hitchcockian.
It's Hitchcockian. It's a moral dilemma. The basic story is just about there's these two families. How these two families are linked together is that there's the guys are brothers, right? And one of them is like a doctor in the hospital. He likes to do good. His wife, works in a NGO, right? Kind of like a UNICEF-esque kind of NGO. Whereas the other family, the brother is a lawyer who is really good at using his words, that kind that can turn black into white. That's how good he is as a lawyer. And the wife is actually this lady who's a lot younger than her.
This is second wife, right?
Second wife, yeah. And what happened is that there's kind of two threads going. One thread is that the guy, the brother who is the lawyer, is actually fighting a case, helping this rich guy, this rich son of a conglomerate,
to get away with a crime lah, with a hit and run.
Hit and run, correct. He was
this,
in traffic
viral.
Correct. Yeah, and he ran over this guy, who the daughter survived, but the guy did not. So, and then the surviving daughter is actually getting treatment at the other brother's hospital. Yeah. But the main thread is that both of their kids, who are cousins, right, went to a party, and then after that, they are caught committing a crime. They are undiscovered, but the CCTV caught both of them committing a crime where they are beating up this
homeless guy.
Correct, yeah. And now they are in this dilemma of, actually at first it was not a dilemma, but they were trying to cover up and save these kids. And that is the crux of the drama. What is great is that, in this film, you see the characters change. You see this very deplorable lawyer who could do anything that he won't hesitate to do things that are ethically questionable. But at the end, when he discovers the real reason, he discovers who their kids really are. He shifts into this person that feels that he has to do the right thing. Whereas the other guy, the brother, who is a doctor, who is always we have to do things that are right, became the complete opposite. And what you end up is a very Shakespearean tragedy at the end. And it's really what you can ask for in a good thriller film.
John, I want to ask, right, because I left the film halfway to go and watch another film.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times the challenge with making this type of film is the character shift has to be, if it's not done well, it makes the film like a bad film. If you don't buy the character shift, right? Because if you think about it, it's quite an extreme character shift. You have this like at the start, this lawyer is like this like corruptible, morally reprehensible person.
Yeah.
And by the end of the film, his character changes almost 180 degrees.
Yeah.
If the script is not written well such that you can buy that shift, right? The film will tank, right? So did you think the film did that well? And like how do you think the film did that well?
I think if you were to really sit down and nitpick, you can probably question some of the logic, but it's based on the sheer filmmaking of combining pacing and progression of beats and revealing of plot, right? Also adding to how theatrical it is, because everything that is unfolding in those climatic scenes, right? It feels like something out of a stage play, but being kind of crafted much more cinematically. When you are watching, right, you are at your age, you have to sit already. You are completely being kind of carried away by the filmmaker, as the things are unfolding, and it's moving at such a breakneck speed, right, until the end where this thing unfold, right. As soon as it ends, you're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
And that is what I think good commercial filmmaking sometimes is.
Yeah.
It allows
totally.
you to hey, you not even think like, is it realistic or what? It just like and
Yeah, totally.
yeah, and I think it did really well in that sense. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. Another film from the foreground section, which all of us love, La Chimera, from Italian director Alice Rohrwacher.
Yeah.
I mean, we all love the film. Maybe Brandon, you wanna kick this off?
So La Chimera is about a guy who has this special ability to basically like find artifacts that are very old that belong to a different time, and basically he starts going into like basically this heist group where they essentially like find old items to sell for money, and that's how they make their living. But beyond that, this guy, there's a reason why this guy is able to have the powers that he has. He has some kind of connection to the past, and I think it's really in line with Alice Rohrwacher's I guess previous films about a man being out of time, and also our connection to our past, and how essentially in our modern era we have sort of lost touch with it. Yeah, so I think it's a magical watch. It's shot on film. It is beautiful. The characters are fun, engaging. And the lead actor is surprisingly valuable in his performance. I think he's able to carry off a lot of very different scenes. Yeah. And it's just a whole lot of fun to watch. I think if you ever have a chance, do watch it in the cinema, because this is like, I think the colors on film is really like amazing. Yeah.
It's a masterful film, I would say.
Yeah, especially if you enjoyed Happy as Lazaro and also The Wonders, right? Yeah, I think this is a must watch. Alice Rohrwacher. Yeah.
It's masterful in a sense that it's completely not like any of the films that we've mentioned at the first half of this podcast.
Yeah,
meaning it's not slow cinema. It's actually blocked pretty clear cut. Well,
yeah.
But it's masterfully blocked.
Yeah.
And there's such a poetic touch and eye to this filmmaker as well. Taking something that, like excavating,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that you can only make entertaining in the Indiana Jones trilogy. But in this case, able to, take it, link it to the existential crisis of this character, and what he's actually desiring for.
Yeah. I feel like the casting is so well done also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially a lot of the things that start to make sense later. When basically she identifies certain women as being like, oh, you have a very old face, like you come from a different type.
Yeah.
And you see like paintings that look exactly like them, and it's like amazing.
Yeah.
And of course there's also Isabel Rossellini who's inside. Yeah. With a very memorable performance, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. And also just great to see Italy on film, but not like modern.
Yeah, it's like old town Italy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was shot in like Tuscany. All right.
So it's definitely coming to Singapore, because it's anticipate pictures.
Yeah. So glad.
Yeah.
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 Great. If not, it will be another straight to Netflix film, like Happy as Lazaro.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Our next film, which is also all of our favorite, is Zhang Lu's The Shadowless Tower.
Yeah.
You want to kickstart?
This one, how to describe? Wow, this one, a food critic, who is also kind of going through a few different things. Yeah.
But then you want to try?
Go.
So this is about a food critic who has a relationship with basically a younger girl who is his photographer for a food magazine. And throughout the whole film, it's about them developing almost like a kind of love relationship, but also maybe her finding a kind of like substitute father figure in him, because after a while you realize that she is actually part of a generation of orphans. So it's about them, but at the same time it's also about this food critic's relationship with his own father, who he has a estranged relationship with, and it's actually played by Tian Zhuang. So it's a fairly talky film, but it's also a fairly breezy film.
Yeah.
It doesn't really it has its poetic moments. It's a lot of talking, but I think it doesn't really feel like it's overly long drawn, although some might argue that it can be a bit shorter. Yeah, and I think it does certain parallels quite well. For example, like him becoming more and more like his father as he grows older. Yeah, and I thought the way it is done is quite sensitive, and although it's a bit on the nose towards the end, I thought the acting was very good also. The lead and the female lead is very strong. Yeah, and it plays a lot with this like taking of photographs as well, and it has like some formal innovations, I think. I quite enjoyed it.
It's a film that doesn't attempt very obviously, but effortlessly shows you modern China quite well, I would say.
And China is like filmed so beautifully, I feel.
There, like the story between the two leads, the elder man and the younger food photographer, in a way, it's almost as if Lost in Translation was like transplanted to China, right?
A bit. It has a bit of that. But in a not racist way lah.
A lot of the humor is very China kind of humor.
Yeah.
I think it translates really well to audiences out of the country also.
Okay, let's move on to Nuri Bilge Ceylan's About Dry Grasses.
Okay, Ceylan's latest film about dry grasses. It's a 3-hour, 20-minute epic. Okay, that will definitely not be getting a commercial release, as with many of his other films. So it's actually basically about a teacher who is teaching in a rural Turkish school, and he's a very intelligent teacher, and he has a favorite student. But one day he realizes that this favorite student, who is a girl, complained about him and his colleague for behaving inappropriately towards students. So that basically snowballs into a whole bunch of other problems that reveal a deeply intelligent but deeply flawed main character who tries to essentially lie to himself in order to feed his own ego and lie to other people to manipulate them into liking him and things like that. So I think Ceylan is really cinema's Dostoevsky. Yeah, he is really interested in a very particular kind of male psyche, in which I think we see this in a lot of his other films also. Yeah, that he really talks about this idea of a flawed main character. Even in Winter Sleep, it's also about a very intelligent but deeply manipulative and egoistic main character. Yeah, and us following this guy's journey to convince himself that he's a good person and convince everyone else. Yeah, so it's a 3-hour, 20-minute burn, but it's funny. To me, I find it to be better than Winter Sleep. I found that Winter Sleep is a bit too cerebral. It's a bit too existing in your head. A lot of talking.
Too intellectual.
Yeah. Which is a mood lah. I think you have to be in the right zone for it. I really enjoy Winter Sleep. Yeah, but I think this film is easier to watch, and the performances are great. Yeah. There's one particular scene, right, where basically the main character is going to have is about to have sex with another woman, and this is Ceylan showing off lah. He basically steps out of the camera is a long take, right, where the character steps out of the set and goes out into this. Basically, it shows the whole production of that set and walks all the way into the toilet of that production set, and then he pops in a Viagra, and then he goes back. So it's a really different way of of expressing this manipulation to get what he wants and things like that. Yeah, quite an interesting watch. Yeah.
Something that I want to talk about is John and I, we had this conversation about the importance of dialogue. I think we were discussing a lot of art house films with this obsession with very terse, very short, poetic dialogue. And the end result of a lot of these films is that it's very thin. You don't get much meat out of it. And when I look at Ceylan's body of work, if you look at his first 5 films, right, from Small Town, Clouds of May, Distant Climates, Three Monkeys, these 5 films, right, I feel are mainly driven by photography. Because, I mean, as we know, Ceylan started out as a photographer. And when he started making films, a lot of his films were primarily image-based. A lot of white shots, long take. And the dialogue were they were not the main part of his cinema. And I think when he made his 5th film, right, I feel like he kind of knew that. He knew he has hit the wall of his current mode of filmmaking. And his next film after Three Monkeys Once Upon a Time in Anatolia,
Mm.
it's a prelude for films like Winter Sleep and Wild Pear Tree and Dry Grasses, where Anatolia is a good mix of his traditional way of filmmaking, which is very photography driven. But at the same time, there's a lot of long dialogue scenes.
Yeah. It's still my J-line, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also one of my favorite J-line films. And I think in Winter Sleep, right, he more or less abandoned his photography-driven filmmaking and really decided that, okay, there is nothing more I can explore with photography in cinema. I'm going to explore dialogue. And John and I were talking about the fact that, because we were very frustrated with a lot of these, like, for example, films like, I mean, I'm not sure if I want to name names, but we're just frustrated with a lot of art house filmmakers in Singapore who seem to think that your film is more artistic or more poetic when your characters are very restrained. They don't talk a lot. If they do talk, it's like 3 or 4 words, and then there is silence, and then your character will like glance at each other in the eyes, and we just feel like this kind of cinema, like it's very easy to hit a kind of dead end with this kind of cinema. And at the end of the day, right, if you want to elevate your film, dialogue has to be a key component of your filmmaking. If you think about it, right, a lot of great scenes from films that we all love, a lot of them are dialogue. Like, for example, the opening scene in Steve McQueen's, what's that Hunger Strike film? Hunger, right? That is a dialogue scene. Or the famous scene from like Michael Mann's Heat between Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. That's a dialogue scene. And yeah, when you watch Winter Sleep, Wild Pear Tree, you get a sense like this new direction that Jaylan has taken. Yeah, it has bore very interesting results. Yeah, just curious what to hear, Jonathan, what's your take?
I don't know, because I never watched the film.
No, I mean, you've seen Winter Sleep. You've seen, I'm sure you've seen some of Jaylan's.
I watched Once Upon a Time in Anatolia. And,
Yeah,
right.
What was the other one?
Wild Pear Tree.
No, wait before that. Climates. Is it?
Right.
Climate.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that dialogue has to be well written lah. Yeah. I mean, there are some films that really run on dialogue. I mean, the famous ones are like the Before trilogy. It's just all dialogue. And I think they are great films. You know, they capture something through their dialogue that is very poignant, and I think it resonates very strongly with a lot of people. Yeah, and it's really done to the point where like the dialogue is so well made that you don't even feel like it is written. You feel like they are really just like having a natural conversation that leads to all these like different story beats, you know? Yeah, I feel like maybe in Singapore we are afraid a bit of writing dialogue because maybe it's weird to hear Singaporeans speak on screen.
No, I disagree. I think it's because it's just damn difficult to write good dialogue, and then
that is definitely part of it, right? Yeah,
it's not only damn difficult to write good dialogue, it's damn difficult to find actors who can pull them off, and it's damn difficult to stage dialogue scenes well. And John and I always talk about like sometimes, right, the best scenes, you just need to know how to do shot reverse shot very well. To direct a good dialogue scene, right, it requires you nail down some key fundamental aspects of directing, which I think, you know, a lot of filmmakers haven't nailed down yet. I mean, simple things like subtext, you know, all that. I feel, I mean, John, like you should say something because we talked about this a lot.
Yeah, I think we can segue to the next director because the next director is quite good at writing dialogue.
Yeah, Joy, you want to kick off? I mean, talking about a director and writer who really knows how to both write and direct dialogue scenes.
I think if you can't write dialogue, then you need to find someone to write your dialogue for you. But then I think directors shouldn't be afraid of dialogue. Dialogue, of course, is a bit disadvantageous in a short film format. But in a feature, if you have 90 minutes, even 90 minutes, dialogue, it's more than enough time for you to craft scenes with dialogue. If you choose to have no dialogue, then the action need to be jolly well dynamic. That's my very simple way of looking at cinema in general. If your scenes have no dialogue, it has to be replaced by action, interesting action. The most ideal is you combine that dynamism of blocking with dialogue. To me, that's my most ideal form of cinema. But all great, I think in my pantheon of all great directors and great masters, all can direct great short reverse shots in scenes. And short reverse shots, conversations look like the most taken for granted kind of scenes.
Yeah,
the great directors do it far better than any kind of directors. And and you can actually see it. When you see a Coen brother shot on dialogue scene, right? It's not only a great scene. It's this is like, oh wow, something has shifted. It's not TV or it's not anything. It's one masterful scene after another. So they know that how important each of these dialogue scenes are.
Yeah, well said. And speaking of dialogue, we have Ryusuke Hamaguchi.
This guy definitely knows what good dialogue is. Let's just say, one of the best doing it.
Yeah, I mean, this film it has some really funny dialogue scenes.
Yeah.
Especially the one taking place in the car between the two employees of the PR company. Brendan, you want to quickly describe what the film is about?
Okay, so the film is set in a rural Japanese town, where basically because of the pandemic, this company wants to start a kind of resort this glamping resort in the town, and this action will actually cause a lot of like negative I guess like consequences on the town, like polluting the water and things like that are very important for the people who live around there. Yeah, so it's about these two employees who have to come down to convince the town people to basically let them do what they need to do. And as a result of that, there is a lot of resistance towards what they want. And basically one thing leads to another, and there are serious consequences by the time the film ends. Yeah. So this film is great because I cannot think of many films who will just willingly, like set 20 minutes, right, just to be in a town council meeting.
Yeah.
That most people would think is boring as hell, right? But
the most engaging thing, man.
Yeah, but he writes it in a way that is so engaging. He manages to make you like want to cry in that town hall scene, and also want to make you like angry and want to make you laugh, all in that 20 minutes. Yeah, it's like one of the most amazing like town hall scenes I've ever like seen. Yeah.
I think Ryusuke does this one thing, right? His ability to write dialogue, right? He's able to mix this texture that you get from, say, a Hong Sang-soo film. But, there's also something quite Tarantino-esque about the structure of it, even though their films can't be more different. That, it progresses so well, and it's so consequential also. Some scene, the townhouse one, the scenes in the car may feel quite random, but as the film goes on, you realize that there is a purpose for those dialogue. It's not just random talk. There is a payoff when you know what the character of this person actually is.
I think actually when I watch this film, it sort of feels like a parable of sorts. Like I think ever since Abbas Kiarostami died, I don't think I've seen a film that is really like what I would consider to be like a minimalist epic. Like it's about something very small, but it's actually about a lot of, but it can also be seen like it's as if about a lot of other things. Like say for example, if we were to look at Kiarostami's Like Someone in Love, it's a very simple story, but it's also about a very generic, like universal love story. About we find love in different forms and all that. So I think I really enjoyed it because I think it's almost like that in this film. Yeah, like there's like a simplicity towards it, but at the same time, it also makes us ask certain questions that are quite universal. Yeah, I mean the title is Evil Does Not Exist, right? So we have to ask ourselves, of course, definitely does evil exist? Yeah.
Yep.
And I think when you watch the film, honestly, I wasn't expecting it to end that way, and I thought I didn't see that. I didn't see the ending coming. Yeah. And then when I look back, suddenly a lot of the visuals start to make sense, and they all start to have some relevance throughout the whole film. And I thought it's masterful. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone could foresee the ending.
Yeah.
And I think the complete unexpectedness of the ending is really what have sent like a lot of people who have seen it into like this question mark, right? Like what does the ending mean? And what does it say about the question posed by the title, which is, does evil exist?
Yeah. I'm really glad that it's coming to Singapore on commercial release.
Yeah. Thanks to Anticipate Pictures. Yeah. I mean, what else can we say except to go and watch the film, right? And I don't know if we mentioned, Anticipate is also releasing La Chimera.
Nice.
Yeah. La Chimera, Evil Does Not Exist. This two films.
Tiger Stripes
and Zhiwei's film.
Yeah. So the next film is an Iranian film called Goodbye Julia by Mohammad Kordofani, which won the Audience Choice Award.
Not Sudanese.
The Sudanese film, right?
Oh, sorry. My mistake. Yeah, Sudanese film. Yeah, it was the first Sudanese film that premiered in Cannes. I mean, this film is amazing lah. I think, Brandon, we watched it. Yeah. George, did you see it?
Didn't see it. I didn't.
This is really the revelation of the festival for me. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
I think I had no expectations. I don't know what a Sudanese film would be about or what it would look like. But it just ticked all the boxes. It's
And
a great political thriller, but also a family story. It's basically about two women. One is a slave from Africa, and one is a Sudanese who is basically like a rich upper middle class kind of lady, and it's about their relationship, and it's complicated because the lady actually accidentally killed the husband of the African slave, and she basically uses her authority and her influence to cover up the crime. And out of her own guilt, she hires this African woman to be her house servant. And for a long time, they develop this relationship, and it's about their relationship, but it's also about this like tension between them because she keeps trying to cover up her excuses and her lies with even more lies. Yeah, and it sort of like moves very quickly and very well, and yeah, you just sort of get very enraptured in their story. And I think it's great that a film like that is made, and I'm just wondering, like, we need films like that, you know. Actually, we need thrillers that are engaging, that are cathartic, that are funny, that are heartwarming. It's all you want in a film. Yeah, I think like what Peng say, right? It's like a faultless film. Yeah.
For me, this film is pitch perfect.
Yeah.
There is absolutely not a tiniest issue I have with this film. Like, there is no fault. Yeah.
It's really I mean, Anticipate can bring also a.
But yeah, I mean, I'm so glad it won the audience choice because it really deserves it, lah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a new feature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even more impressive. Like just the opening scene alone was like already quite mind blowing. Yeah. It's like this riot scene. Yeah.
And then after that, it becomes more than just a family drama, right? It's also, in a way, this epic about Sudan.
Yeah.
And how, you know, the conflict between, I mean, I can't remember the south, right? And the south of Sudan with the north of Sudan. Is that correct? I can't really remember.
Yeah, correct. And there's so like there's a political shaft to the film as well. Like basically there is this desire to separate Sudan into like two, like sort of apartheid like that. Like so north is all the Sudanese, and then all the Africans will go south. And so that is essentially where the title comes from. Yeah. It's about, I guess, their eventual goodbye, but it comes with a lot of like struggle and heartbreak, and yeah. Very well done, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, right, I mean, just for some like background, right, Brandon and I were it was a last minute decision to watch Goodbye Julia.
Yeah.
Like originally we were planning to watch this like 4-hour French documentary called Our Body. And it was at Film Gut. And I got no mood to travel to Film Gut at 10:30 or 10 a.m. in the morning. So I thought, hey Brandon, why don't we just go and watch this Sudanese film that went to Cannes? And it's at National Museum, which is more accessible. And that's how we ended up there. And oh my God, like for me, like my favorite film from this festival. All right. I think we can move on to talk about this independent film from the US with a very long title called The Feeling That the Time for Doing Something Has Passed by Joanna Arnold.
I didn't watch.
You didn't watch, I mean,
recommend.
Highly recommend.
It's so funny. It's so original. It's a deadpan like sex comedy. Although there's not. I mean, it's not really like about sex. Although it is about her sexual life. Yeah, and her sort of like laughing or making us laugh at the awkwardness of her sexual discovery and her sexual journey. Yeah, and it's a film that really can only be done by her. Yeah, and I love these films. Yeah, in which like your voice is so original and so clear. And it's also produced by Sean Baker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it has that kind of like I don't know if it's shot on film, but it has so little like I think there's only like a few scenes only. Like it takes place mostly indoors. Some outdoor scenes, not a lot of actors, and she casts herself as the lead actor, and she's naked in half of the film. And then she casts her own dad as her dad. Yeah. And I don't know if the mom is really her mom. Could be also. Yeah, it's just a strikingly original and funny film. Yeah, one of my favorite is when like I think her partner asked her to like basically she's into like BDSM. Yeah. Then this sexual partner asked her to like put her arms over the cabinet and then like say some like naughty things or whatever. Then after that she looks straight at the cabinet and into like his family photo with like his children and ex-wife and all that kind of thing. It's just the most awkward and the most hilarious like staging that you will see. Yeah, I was really taken by surprise.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's also impossible to release this film in Singapore.
Yes, yeah. Maybe.
I don't know.
The final film. Oh my god! Wow, it's been 4 hours. But the final film. It's not a new film.
Very much be the best film lah.
It's not a new film. It's a pretty old film by none other than David Lynch. The film is Fire Walk With Me.
Yeah. It's recommended to watch this after you watch the Twin Peaks TV series, or else wow. It's quite I basically only watched like 2 episodes of Twin Peaks before. And I fairly know, the Laura Palmer mythology and the main character. But wow, when you go into this film, you'll be like, what the hell is going on? At the same time, halfway through the film, you're like, that's the only way you should make this film as well. And there's no other way this film should be made. You are in the safe, ironically safe hands of David Lynch. Yeah. Who just is a master of tone. I have no idea how he does this. Some of the performances are like ridiculously over the top, but it's all strangely coherent as well. The whole film, and it's very sad. Yeah, the more over the top it is, the more horrific it is, and in the end, the sadder it is as well. Yeah. So it's crazy. Yeah, a great way of showing abuse, a great way of showing deeply horrific trauma. Something's not quite right in David Lynch's mind, and it's all for cinema as well. I don't know where his frequency is, but it's crazy. Yeah.
It's in transcendental meditation.
Yeah, it's all from there. It's all in there. So this is also another filmmaker one shouldn't try to hit.
Yeah.
You will die a very terrible death. if you don't rise to the occasion. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I recall right, I think John, we also discussed after we seen the film.
Yeah.
The fact that like throughout, because this is the last film we saw, right? And throughout the festival, we've seen a lot of films, and
Yeah.
you just notice in some of the films we've seen a lack of like directorial craft.
Yeah.
But when you look at Fire Walk with Me, right? Even the early scenes in the film where, you know, it's basically like a detective thriller, right?
Yeah.
The scenes are so well covered, so well staged. Like
Yep.
David Lynch has his, even though he makes wacky films, right?
Yeah.
He has got his basics as a director
Yep.
down to a beat, you know?
Yeah.
And watching
in the right place.
yes, precisely. Yeah. And it's just, I mean, when I watch the first like 5 minutes of Firewalk with Me, right, I really feel like, wow, this is a director who knows how to direct, you know, knows how to cover the scene, knows how to stage his camera, know how to move to get the desired effect.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, right, it was the best film to end the festival on, lah. Yeah.
It's very selfish to say, if you want to make a film with David Lynch, right, just give him full creative power with no executives on set to give him anything. But I really think that's really the only way his films should be made, because if you let any interference go to him, right, it's a huge pity to see any sort of like other kind of hand in play with his vision. It's crazy enough to conjure out this whole world of Twin Peaks, right? It's even crazier to come out with Mulholland Drive, which, you know, you have two of this, right? You don't have to create anything anymore. You know, it's so rich itself of a world of cinematic worlds already. You know? But not only he has that, he has Eraserhead, he has like Lost Highway,
Blue Velvet.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah.
It's no wonder he doesn't make any films anymore, because I think it requires a lot.
I think his latest one was a short film called What Did Jack Do? It's like there's a monkey on it, something like that. Yeah.
And the final season of Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he essentially retired already.
Yeah, he should. He's so much to ask for him, probably.
So we have come to, after almost 4.5 hours, we have come to the final section of this episode, where we will list out our top 3 favorite films and our top Singapore film. So, John, you want to go first?
My top 3 films are La Chimera, Evil Does Not Exist, and Shadowless Tower. And my top Singapore film will be Wonderland.
Nice. And Brandon, you?
Okay, so my top 3 films are About Dry Grasses by Jaylan, Inside the Yellow Cocoon Shell, as well as 4 films by Man Ray that I watched this festival, called Return to Reason, and it was rescored by Jim Jarmusch's band, which was one of the most enjoyable cinematic experiences I've had in a while. Yeah, there's just like a real freedom and joy of like making films back like 100 years ago, where like things like box office didn't exist, and you know, like budgeting was not like a big thing. You don't even have to make money off your films. It was really fun to watch. Yeah, and my top SG film is Drift by Anthony Chen.
And my top 3 favorite films are Goodbye Julia, Critical Zone. My third choice is a bit, I had a tough time choosing, but you know, I wanted to go for Evil Does Not Exist or Shadowless Tower, but I decided on the feeling that the time for doing something has passed. My favorite Singapore film is Nelson Yeo's Dreaming and Dying.
Nice.
And also, and with that, we have come to the end of this very special episode. I think this festival has been for me, because I haven't attended SGIFF for the past 2 years. So this coming back to SGIFF has been great. I think a lot of the films are really good, and definitely look forward to next year. How about you guys?
Yeah, I think actually overall this might be probably the best SGIF I've ever been to. So really
Nice.
props to the team, KV and all. Yeah, I think attendance has been great as well. Even for films like Jaylan's film, it was basically almost a sold out screening. Yeah, and I'm thoroughly impressed that is happening. Yeah, I feel like there's a real hunger.
Yeah. The venues this year is a lot better also.
Definitely.
With the National Museum one, and also the opening of Cine Leisure projector. So really good lah.
Yeah, and Oldham as well. I feel like last time when we had to go to Golden Mile projector, it was always tough to travel in between.
Yeah.
Like National Museum and projector and National Museum and projector. Yeah. So this was a great one. I really had a lot of fun.
Awesome. And with that, we've come to the end of the episode. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again in 2024.